My name is Arno Rafael Minkkinen. For the past 52 years, all of the 1970s, all of the 1980s, all of the 1990s, plus 22 years, the way I have been working has never changed. And yet, all the pictures are different. Two notable quotes guide my creative life. "Unless we see with the eyes of a child," Brancusi wrote, "we make no art." Add to this Georges Braque's command, "Out of limited means, new forms emerge." Thus I made a contract with myself about what I would not do. There would be no manipulation of any kind, so the image would correspond exactly with the reality before the lens. There would be no need for clothes in a timeless, natural world. Nor would I photograph someone else to take my place in the photographs. No reason to put anyone but myself in discomfort or in harm's way. To preserve my signature in the work and not make it a collaborative process. The only eye with access to the viewfinder would be my very own. Since then, nothing has changed in the way I work. And yet, the works are always different, always the same. In 1995, there was an hour-long documentary made about my photographs. The director had hoped I might be able to reenact this picture, and so audiences could see maybe how it's done. And I said, no, I don't think I want to do that, but let's see what we can try. During the preview of the films in France, my gallerist's daughter, who was 9 at the time, had whispered to her mother when she saw this reenactment that, "Mommy, when I was a little girl, I used to always think he was standing on a crocodile." Well, it didn't take long for me to send a fax in those years, a fax to Helsinki, and on it I wrote very directly, "Let's not use this scene. I don't want to kill the crocodile." Finally, I just took the camera and I put it, behind me and framed the ocean. Still didn't know what I was going to do. I sat down. It was a boardwalk. And rather than going this way, I decided, after I put the self-timer on, I went this way. And I went all the way over. My nose went right in between these two planks. My mouth opened up. I said, now I can show my cleft palate. I can see what this thing looks like. And the camera went off, and that was it. This picture was made in Jamestown, Rhode Island, 1974, the same year as my walking on water photograph. You might think that the image is somehow manipulated or that I used a pair of scissors. Certainly it wasn't Photoshop. That didn't come until decades later. But you could ask, what is this white line here? And if you look at my negative, you'll see it's exactly where it is here, meaning this is the proof of the lack of any manipulation of any kind. Why does it have to be me? Yeah, you can't ask someone to step out onto the edge of a cliff high above the sea, in the snow, in the cold, and for the sake of your picture. If I had slipped off that cliff, I would be gone, I wouldn't be here. And I have many pictures like that, so I can't put anyone else in harm's way. We live in the woods. And behind the house is an ancient area of kettle hole bogs. These are water containers that are shaped by the mountains in reverse, you could say. And I love how the trees, when they're ready to leave this earth and turn back to dust, curve in such a spectacular way. So I wanted with my fingers to somehow emulate and honor that. But the picture took a long time before I got it. I had to take many images because I was waiting for that wonderful raindrop to join the image. So you look at this photograph and you might think that it was made in Finland, but actually this one was made in the USA. But the other thing about the photograph, though, is there's a word in Finnish called sisu. And sisu means someone with fortitude and courage and, against all odds. It's how Finland got to preserve most of its country and freedom during the Second World War. And so a picture like this requires a tremendous amount of sisu. I invited a group of students to come with me to see how I work. This was before the workshop day began. It was early, 5 in the morning. And I had about 10 minutes window in which to make the picture work. Because as the sun came up, the shadow fell down. And the little slot of light here is what I was after, to try and make an image like this, which was so difficult because it was glacier cold water. And the students had a chance to see their teacher struggle 3 times before the 4th one, where I actually got it and could share with them what I had done single-handedly, no assistance, no manipulation whatsoever. And they are sort of the evidence, proof, negative, of my procedures and my way of working. So we are now in Kolli, Finland. This is a beautiful natural national park area with the mountains and the lakes that go on and on along the Russian border, you could almost say, because from the mountains you can see into Russia, I believe. The image reflects the communion through nature between a man and a woman. And it's very romantic, I know, and I can't help that. And I hope you enjoy the image as much as I do. There's something different in these two because they're joined together with the corner of a wall. But they're the flip side of each other because in one, I'm in the sky, and in the other, I'm in the water. And in both, there's this wonderful sense of tension, I hope, where we are not in our element. And the one in the water in particular is an image that demonstrates how I work, because I don't think about what might happen if my fingers got stuck. It's that toying around with danger that lurks in both of these. But in any case, I'm not on the ground. I'm in the water and I'm in the air. Just as much as when I went out west, I wanted to bring the American landscape in, I also want to work in the city and with structures and how the human body's shape is alien sometimes to these verticalities and horizontal things, so that the shape of the human body can be a yin and yang, an opposite in this kind of wonderful, pastiche of shapes and textures. I came to the window, and sure enough, the suicide screws are on the window. You can't open it, but it did open enough for my Pentax 6x7 to just fit through. And as soon as that happened, I realized that, the painting that O'Keeffe painted out there was just about from this corner, and but the buildings were in my way. I couldn't see the East River. So the impulse immediately, the idea came to, why don't you just move the building out like that? And there are many of these islands, and they're like one and another, and they're connected by ferries. If you you get off the one ferry and you try to make it to the next ferry, to not miss it, you have to speed. And if you speed, you're going to get a ticket from the police. So you have to be slower, and you miss the ferry each time. And there's always a coffee shop right by the ferry, so you're drinking coffee a lot. So it was during one of these ferry stops, you know, with a little bit of a line, I said to, you know, we were with some friends on this trip, on a tour, and I said, I know I could do something. These trees look, I love these birches. And so I ran, put the tripod down, took off my trousers only, my underpants, you can't see them, and hopped up on the thing, and with a cable release, took the picture, hopped in the car, we got right onto the ferry. We didn't have to get coffee. This is 1971. And I took my clothes off because I wanted to see what I looked like naked. But I didn't realize the exposure would be the way, it would be more of a silhouette. But I loved the silhouette. And I love the effect of this picture, as if, you know, I'm looking at my own grave. So it's like a picture, you start by looking at the end of your life, you know, 52 years ago almost now. And it's ever since then been kind of a foundation for a line that you'll read here in the show. You'll see it. It goes, "Art is risk made visible." For me, when Dan was born, he was immediately a subject that I wanted to express the joy and love for him. And I love this particular one very, very much. You can see that I have some sunburn, and there's a little bit of peeling skin here. These little white dots, they're all little fishes. Then on this side, this is now 4 years later. There he's maybe 2. Here he's now 6. And we've just come back from Finland after 2 years in Finland, where he went to school and learned to speak Finnish in a pretty good way. So in the 1970s, I start out in a trash can. In the 1980s, I'm trying to wiggle my arms and legs to create a shape that perhaps has never been seen before. In the 90s, I'm flying. In the 2000s, I've mastered the art of walking on water. And in the 2010s, I'm making this lovely image, I believe, of this wonderful person and the mountains and our arms and beautiful sense of spirit. And in the 2020s, I'm in Arizona making an homage to the Saguaro National Forest that is a spectacular place to be. And when I process the film 2 weeks later in home, you know, in the darkroom, you know, I look at the thing and I make the print. And I'm very happy, there's the print. And then I make a bigger one. And then I think there's something growing on my back. And I think it's some sort of cancer, I don't know what it is. And when I look at it really closely, and you can come up to this one because it's big enough, you will see a fly. And now that fly becomes my mascot. That fly becomes my negative. That fly is the proof that I converted myself into a stone, which the fly took me to be. And it's this conversion of seeing a photograph come to life out of your mind and becoming eventually on a wall that many people will see and hopefully admire, that propels the perpetual hunger, never satisfied hunger of making new work all the time.